Okay, everybody, it's time. It's time for the conclusion of episode 55 of DSP versus the internet. I hope you've enjoyed this week's show. There's been a great variety of clips, I feel. So thank you to everyone who submitted. Thanks to everyone who supported this channel via those memberships. Remember, if you want to be a part of the show, become a member today. Submissions level members get put into this playlist where everyone has an equal chance to be watched. And ultra level members are guaranteed to be able to be watched next week and for a whole month, once a week. Okay? All right, let's see what's next.
3, 2, 1, it's go time. Welcome to the greatest sport I've ever witnessed.
I'm a little nervous about this one because it's a real game show, and these typically get claimed or blocked. So I'll have to pause a little bit. Slippery Stairs, one of these weird Japanese game shows, huh?
The aim of the game is to wear a tight rubber onesie and get to the top of the slippery as fuck staircase. It requires focus, stamina, and feet with grip. Oh, Golden Boy has fucked it already. Pinky, the Orange Wanker, Frogman, and Mr. Blue are going steady. Daredevil has a solid early lead. No, Frogman slips, Golden Boy takes a hit, and the Orange Wanker goes down too. And
I would think, so if these are lubricated stairs, right? The strategy must be have absolutely as little touch of the stairs as possible, because every time you touch it, you're going to get more lubricated. So let's say, for example, when you're walking up, you just use the tips of your toes and the tips of your fingers, you get up a few stairs, but now that's lubed. So now you start to stretch out a little more. Now you're using your whole fingers and maybe the whole front half of your foot. But now that's lubed. So now you got to, because every time you step on a stair, if you don't have lubrication on that part of your body touching the stair, you should grip, but then that's going to have lube on it. You see? So there's strategy to it. But man, that's probably very difficult to get to the top of that staircase. And also, body weight has to be a factor. Like, the heavier you are, the harder it is. If you're lighter, it's probably easier to maintain the grip, right?
Devil, he crashes out.
Oh my God.
Manages to make it look awesome with a spinny trick. The onlooking Sheilas are thoroughly impressed with such a move. It doesn't take Daredevil long to regain the lead, though. He is almost at the treasure chest of glory. I think there's a check for 10 bucks or so in there. Oh no, disaster strikes. He's a goner. Mr. Blue evaded trouble beautifully there. Fuck me dead. That was bloody specky, mate. Ah, bugger. He fucked it straight away after doing a cool move. This guy is like, that always happens every time. He's saying cool moves are for jackasses. Meanwhile, Golden Boy has either broken his back or he's collecting his thoughts.
I'm pretty sure he didn't break his back,
he's okay.
hopefully.
He's good. He's fucking golden. Frogman is the only one sticking it to Daredevil at the moment. I don't know what strategy he's implementing here, however. Fuck, I think he's gotten himself stuck.
Yeah, look.
Yeah, nah, he looks like a dickhead
still
that's
sliding.
stuck. It's only a matter of time before he plummets. Yeah, fuck, there he goes. Daredevil is a few steps from victory again, but it's not gonna happen.
Oh, no.
And look at him trying to wipe out the entire field. How's bloody Golden Boy? He desperately wanted to jump over the avalanche. Unfortunately,
I wonder if in the rules you're not allowed to touch the sides, because I could see if you touch the side, that's extra grip. And plus, I don't know if you could lubricate the sides of this stairwell, right? Because the thing is, they keep spilling down the middle. Well, if you're on the side, they're gonna miss. So why wouldn't you stay on the side so that way if someone falls, it doesn't knock you down, right? So maybe that's against the rules. Maybe you're meant to have to go up the middle.
Brain and his legs could not make it happen. Daredevil totally wanted to try and shit mix everyone.
Yes, he did. He
Gee
did it
whiz,
on
now
purpose.
It's time for a slow, sad montage. There's bloody Frogman getting stuck again. Golden Boy wants to fall on his fucking sword. The Orange Wanker has done nothing. Pinky was exhausted 5 minutes ago. And now Daredevil and Golden Boy sabotage each other.
Oh my God,
like
look at this.
classic
They
selfish
sabotaged
humans.
each other.
Then Frogman sneaks up on Daredevil and he's like, Ohio gozaimasu, motherfucker.
Wow.
Golden Boy finally does a cool move. He then has a fair dinkum chance of getting to the top, just 1 foot in front of the other.
No.
Although he gives Frogman every opportunity to catch up. There's a wrestling match and down they go. All the way to the bottom together. The host cracks the shits. Pinky is ready to go home. The poor bastard has had enough. I tell you what, there's only one bloke who can truly end this. It's not Mr. Blue, it's not the orange wanker, it's gotta be Frogman. You know it, I know it, it's gotta be him. Even fucking Steve Aoki is like, come on Frogman, do it. He's gonna do it, he's gonna do it. The only person that can fuck him is himself right now, and he's won. He didn't fuck himself. He's got the $10.
He's got the $10.
Fuck yeah. That is a tremendous top-notch victory.
Wow.
Today's game was brought to you by Suntory. I don't know who that is.
Suntory is a liquor, Japanese liquor. Anytime, make it. No, for a good time, make it Suntory time. That's right. That is absolutely silly. What a weird show. And Japanese game shows are all like that, right? There's tons of them that are like that. Weird stuff. The review was fun, too. The commentary on the review was fun, too.
What do you say to young men who come to you for advice?
I don't know how this is going to work because it looks like already the video had issues. You can see oh, you can't see it. There's a live icon, and it's been flipped. So they've already had to, like, flip the show to not get claimed on YouTube. I wonder if this is going to work or not. Let's see.
Say that life as a man is exceptionally difficult. I say the most beautiful and the most terrifying thing about being a man is you're born without value. Society doesn't care about you. You're only going to be cared about based on how useful you are. You have the chance to build yourself up and become a superhero if you're prepared to do the hard work and be indefatigable enough to never quit.
I have never heard Andrew Tate speak before. I'm serious. This is the first time I've ever heard his voice. He talks very quickly.
But if you're going to stand around and wait for a handout, nobody's going to ever respect you. And I think that a lot of people have forgotten about how difficult and how competitive it is as a man. We're always in constant competition with each other. And it's your duty as a man to stand up and say, I want to be as important and strong and good-hearted and God-fearing as possible. And I need to work hard to achieve those things. And the dangerous thing about overly emotional men is that they're dangerous. They're genuinely dangerous. This is what's crazy. All these people who talk about toxic masculinity and how bad it is for men to be traditionally masculine. A traditionally masculine man does things he doesn't feel like doing because it is his duty to do them. He charges into the building because it is his duty.
I'm gonna pause a bit. It looks like they edited the video so much that it probably won't get claimed, but I'm gonna pause it anyway. I'm listening. I don't really want to even commentate yet because I want to hear his whole argument before I have something to say. Yes, I know everyone here is saying are you aware this guy's like a sex trafficker and stuff? I'm like, I'm sure. I think, isn't he under, like, he can't leave a country? He's stuck in some country over in Europe. They won't let him go, right? I think. I watched him before and I hated his views. I did? I don't even remember that. Was that early on last year when I did this show? Because I seriously don't even remember this at all. Were the captions turned on? I don't think so. Oh, someone turned them on and it wasn't me. Why are there Spanish captions on? What the? Why were Spanish captions turned on? That certainly wasn't me. Okay. All right, let's continue.
Not because he feels like it, because it is his duty. We're now teaching the new generation of men that they don't have duty and they can just act on their feelings and act how they feel, and they don't have to act as a man should. Do you know what happens when you get men who just act how they feel? You get school, you get violence, you get... Men who do not control their emotions are dangerous. If you find a man who is stoic, he's not going to hurt people. He's going to sit and think about his actions very carefully, and he's going to be a good man who protects and provides for his family. You find a man who just acts out on impulse and does whatever he feels like, you're going to find a dangerous man. Sitting here telling men to cry more and act with their feelings and it's okay to feel this way, that way, etc., and have no self-control. That is why we have the problems we have in the world. Absolutely not wrong. So when they talk about toxic masculinity, they have it completely inversed on its head. Completely not wrong. We need to be teaching stoicism. We need to be teaching young men to understand that the world is very, very difficult. It's hard to be a man. You're going to feel bad sometimes. You just suck it up and perform anyway. Not to sit there and cry your eyes out or blame other people.
Tough being a woman too in modern society.
It's certainly tough being a woman, but I'm not a woman, so why would I speak on issues I do not understand? I'm a man.
You can feel an empathy for...
I like how he immediately turned it on its head. He immediately turned it on its head, and he's like, "Oh, I'm not a woman, I'm a man, so I'm not gonna say shit about that." Here's the thing, okay? From what he's saying, here's what I can understand. In life, I don't think it's just a man either. It's ridiculous. It's either gender, right? Or anyone. It doesn't even have to be about gender. I don't even know why we're making it about a gender. In life, you cannot just act out on your feelings constantly. That is absolutely true. Because feelings aren't necessarily rational. Okay? There are times in life when you're going to be upset about something and you're going to feel angry. You're going to feel sad. You're going to feel happy, right? And you may not even be able to explain it, but you do. Or there might be a very, very easily explainable reason why you feel that way, all right? But if you always act out on your emotions, okay, sadly, you're not going to have a good life. You're just not. I'm not saying always repress your emotions. I'm just saying you need to have a metered approach. You need to know when it's okay to act out and when it's not. There's environments where it's okay. There's environments where it's definitely not, okay? And sometimes you have to swallow that shit and just do stuff in life you don't want to do, or just put up with a situation that you don't agree with. At the same time, if you're someone who 100% does not allow your emotion to ever be felt or shown or utilized in your life, it'll also be a bad life for you. As I've said many times over the years, as I get older, I realize this. In life, it's about balance. It's about moderation. It's about finding the happy medium. There are times when emotion should come out, and there are times when it should not, okay? And I think that's the problem with a lot of people, is that they have this weird mentality that life is one or the other, black and white. It's not. It's not all emotion. It's not all stoicism and swallowing and you know, doing things for rational thought, because sometimes rational thought is completely the opposite of emotion, correct? It's not either being either. It's finding that balance and then making proper choices based on that. He's saying men basically need to swallow all of their emotions, because if men always acted out on their emotions, that's how you get school shooters and rapists and horrible things. To some extent, that's true, because when you have someone who has a crazy irrational thought, like for some reason, something made me feel this way, and I just have a desire to hurt people around me, and then they act out on that, right? That's obviously harmful, toxic, bad, should not happen. But at the same time, if you're someone who literally just sits there and ignores every emotion you're having and becomes the ultimate stoic man, you become a tool. You become a robot. You might as well, I was programmed to act like this and do this, and this is all I do. I never have a thought for myself because I ignore all emotions that would create those thoughts. I just do what I'm told. So you have to find that in-between spot, I feel, in life. So, FYI, I can understand where he's coming from, but the reason that he has that mindset is because he's flipping the script. When the whole society says toxic masculinity, he feels if he comes at you with the opposite perspective and flips it on its head, now it makes him look smart. Well, to some extent, what he's saying is true, but he's now giving you the opposite extreme, which is also wrong, right? Like in life, again, it's about that happy medium in the middle. Okay, sometimes I'm going to feel emotion. I'm going to act out on it. Sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I'm going to freak out. Sometimes I'm going to be more metered, and I'm going to have irrational thought in my mind, right? Sometimes emotion can make you perform better, right? It could. Emotion could make you do things better, perform better, do things that maybe normally you didn't think you could even do. At the same time, sometimes emotion makes you do horrible, irrational things you regret later, right? So there's nothing wrong with emotion, but if you 100% live your whole life everything's based on emotion, yeah, that's not going to work either, right? So I understand what he's saying, but I don't agree necessarily, because he's too extreme to one way. And he definitely seems to me like one of those my way or the highway guys, right? Like, that's his feeling. And then if you were to counter him on that, he'd be like, oh, no, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. I get the feeling that's the case. But I don't know. I don't know much about this man. I mean, I guess this is the second clip I've ever seen of him. So I'm not going to say what he's saying is wrong. Okay, I'm going to say he's too extreme. He says, well, if society says this, I say the opposite, and that's how I get noticed, and that's how people are going to talk about me. But in reality, you've just gone the other way. It's like saying if you staunchly believe that everything that a Republican or a Democrat says is wrong, you just become the complete polar opposite Republican or Democrat. But you don't have to do that. You could just also be other stances in the middle. You know what I mean? You don't have to completely flip, and that's what it seems like he's doing. So, okay. All right, let's continue.
I think there's few bands out there that put as much thought into their music and in turn
I can barely hear this. Can you guys hear this? It's really low for me.
Make you think more about their music than Tool. You could pick any song in their catalog and find levels of nuance and subtlety to dissect. But, at least in my mind, the song that best exemplifies the band's attention to detail and willingness to push boundaries is Lateralis. The title track of Tool's third studio album, the song walks the line between mathematical and spiritual with an intricate weave of rhythms, music, and lyrics that come together to create an astounding final product that's one of the most unique and fascinating songs ever written. Let's take a closer look.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't think I care, right? I'm not too interested. I'm not a big fan of Tool. I don't really even recall many of their songs. I don't think that a musical analysis of one specific song they wrote is very interesting to me or my audience. So I'm going to say, thanks, but this is one I'm going to pass on. I don't really have interest. Okay. Restoring a Street Fighter 2 cabinet.
This is David with the Time Rift Arcade.
Yeah.
And today I want to walk you through what we have to do for a full restoration. This is Street Fighter 2.
That really is an old school style Street Fighter 2 cabinet. Although the button spacing's a little odd, the buttons typically would have been a little bit closer. See how they're spaced out a little like wide, the top row and the lower row. So this looks like more of a modified cabinet that maybe at one point was other games. And then they repurposed it and maybe added button spots to make it a 6-button Street Fighter cabinet. But for the most part, that's accurate. Those are American-style joysticks. Those are American-style buttons. It has the proper 6-button layout. It's got the old tube TV. It's probably got the speakers right there under the marquee that play down. And this is before the era of Q sound, so it probably is the old sound chip. This is CPS. This would be, if it's Street Fighter 2, it's CPS 1. I can't remember when they went from CPS 1 to CPS 2. I wonder if it has the hardware inside or if he's just restoring the cabinet. Yeah, it looks like YouTube is bugging out with captions again because I'm not turning these on. It's doing it by itself. Okay.
This is a machine we recently picked up at an auction, and it's in pretty rough shape. So what I'm going to do is just show you all the different steps that we have to do to ensure that this machine is good enough to go out on the floor where people can play it.
The first challenge is just getting the machine moved to a place where we have room to work on it. I've often compared this to playing a life-size version of...
Ooh, okay, let's look at this.
Okay. This T-molding has seen better days, and there's lots of scuffs in the paint, and the T-molding is falling out at the bottom.
Wow, how would you replace the T-molding? You can replace. I don't know how you would fix the fiberboard though.
This is the only side art that came with this game. At this point, I should probably mention Street Fighter 2 was primarily sold as a kit game. And what that means is you only got the board and some bits of artwork. It was up to you to install it in a cabinet. Right. That means possibly gutting a game that was getting old and out of style.
That's right.
Or using a generic cabinet.
And that's why you see so many different styles that are the game, but they all look different. It's because there was a kit game. It was meant for those cabinets were more universal, and you would just keep replacing them with more modern games over time.
Is you won't find a lot of these that look the same. Now, I believe this cabinet was made by Dynamo and was a generic cabinet. Oh, and here's some trivia. See these two nails? This almost guarantees this was at one time located at an Aladdin's castle. They were notorious about using these little metal property tags that had a nail at each end. On the front, we have some nasty sticky tape. The coin door is okay. We will, of course, have to change the lock. And no surprise, we'll need to replace the power cord. Okay, the first thing I want to do is test it and see what condition it's in, electrically speaking.
Will it even turn on? It turns on!
I apologize for the glare, but the CRT actually looks pretty good. The speakers sound good too, and clearly the board set is working. I had Ashton play the game for a few minutes to test out the controls and make sure everything was stable, and it seemed to play fine. So, amazingly, for once, it doesn't appear that we need to work on the monitor, the controls, or the board set.
That's very odd because, at least, see, I don't know. This is why I'm curious about what board the original Street Fighter 2 is. Because there's a board called CPS 2. CPS 2 was games like Super Turbo, the entire Versus series, like X-Men versus Street Fighter, Marvel versus Capcom, those games. And a ton of games ran on CPS2 Capcom games. They weren't just fighting games. There was other Capcom games as well. Those boards have a battery in them. And if the battery dies, I think it's called a CMOS battery, you have to buy a replacement, and you have to like have a way to fuse the replacement battery into the board, and then basically the board lives forever. But like you have to replace the original batteries. And if this is as old of a cabinet as they're saying, and it just turns on, that doesn't make sense. They would have had to replace the battery and everything, unless someone already did it. But then why was it so dusty? This is kind of confusing to me. Maybe this isn't what I'm thinking. Maybe original Street Fighter 2 is before CPS 2, and therefore it doesn't need the battery. Maybe that's what it is.
I think it's going to be mostly the cabinet itself that needs repair. Okay, let's get to work on it.
Yeah, I mean, that's easy. You just rip that shit off, and you could buy replacement to put on there. You could even get different colors and stuff. What I'm curious is, how do you repair that wood? Because that's fiberboard wood. That's not good quality wood. And to try to fix that, like, you might break it because it's shitty. Oh, he's sanding the whole thing, huh? Wow, they're completely sanding down the sides.
You can see the water damage here at the bottom. We can improve this a little bit with some Bondo. We need to remove this coin door, but it's locked and we did not receive a key with it. This is actually quite common, so we're just going to drill the lock out.
Would it be hilarious if there's like a ton of quarters in there? Like, what the hell?
Here's the coin box.
Nope.
No money.
No coins. What a rip.
Money for that. Oh, wait.
There is a quarter in there.
Dated year 2000.
Hey, let me show you our stash. So in the kitchen, we have these 2 cups. This one has tokens in it, and
that's
this
old
one
quarters.
has money in it.
Oh, that's
we've
cool.
We've saved all of the money and tokens that we found
That's really
inside
cool.
of these machines when we opened them up. Here's a sample of some of the interesting ones. This is a Namco token.
Yeah, there used to be
Peter
Namco
Piper
arcades.
Pizza, Holiday Inn.
Oh.
I guess they used to have arcades at their hotels. Virtual Fun, Jeepers,
What the?
Family Fun Centers, and Boomers. So, as you can see, the machines we get come from all over.
Yeah. I don't even know what most of those are. Never heard of them.
Let's get this coin door out.
Buffing it all.
Now I'm going to mix up some Bondo, and I'm just going to apply this stuff all over the sides to try to fill in the pits, scratches, and water damage as best as possible.
Oh, that's
and
neat.
while that's curing, I wanted to turn my attention to another problem.
Okay, so it's not uncommon for us to have to replace bad feet on these arcades. However, when we started looking at the bottom of this, we realized there are no feet. So we need to add some.
It looks like there used to be some sort of feet on the bottom, but I'm not sure what kind. So I'm just going to install some of our usual feet.
Interesting. Okay. Keep going.
On the other hand, we're just going to paint it black again, so we'll be treating it a little differently. Okay, the primer is done.
Oh, it's the primer.
And because we did this outside, it is expected to see bits of debris here and there, but that's fine because the next step is to sand the primer.
Oh, big blower. This is cool.
Okay, now it's time to remove the control panel. This will make it easier to paint because we need to work on the control panel.
I wonder if they're going to rewire the whole thing, because those wires are pretty old. Maybe they'll rewire the whole thing from start to finish. Ooh, ew. Wait a minute, what was that?
Around that. And that's where we found this little surprise. It's a dirt dauber nest.
Ew.
Looks like one of the little critters is still inside there. I wonder
Oh my god, a bug's nest inside of the arcade cabinet. Ew.
This has been there.
Ew. Oh, that's nasty.
Anyway, it looks like it was originally designed to use an incandescent bulb. I'm going to replace that with an LED before we're done.
Of course, you know, we have incandescent
a bit
bulbs in
more
there
painting.
anymore. Pretty cool. Let's fast forward a bit. Oh, they are rewiring the whole thing.
And this is where we realized another problem. Somebody at some point in time had spliced every single wire on these controls, and the way they did it was by twisting the wires together, soldering them, and then putting electrical tape around them. So we're going to completely redo these. Now, admittedly,
This was very common back in the day, because as I told you, these were cabinets that were multi-purposed. So you might have a game that only has like 2 buttons, 3 buttons. But then all of a sudden you want to put a game in there that has 6 buttons. Oh, well, I'm going to drill more holes in, but I got to add more wires. What do? You splice. So they were to do that. You have crazy splicing, really Frankenstein jobs on the insides of a lot of these cabinets back in the day. Now, that's not how you're supposed to do it. There's ways to plug them properly and have it all well done. And This obviously was just an arcade. They didn't have that level of expertise. They just fucked with it.
The splices aren't very elegant, but that's not the reason. The main problem is they used electrical tape, and it's already starting to fall off some of the wires. Heat shrink is really a more permanent fix, but the only way to get the heat shrink on is by cutting the wire and resoldering it. So that's what we're going to do. Now, to be clear, the reason we're doing this is because if we don't, as this electrical tape falls off piece by piece, these wires will eventually wind up touching each other or grounding out to the metal control panel.
It's going to be exposed, and if they touch anything, they're going to ground out and they don't work anymore.
I'd rather spend a few minutes here to redo these than be dealing with a flaky or broken down machine on the floor of the arcade later on. So, my brother Mike has been working on creating some side art for the machine. What he did was took the original artwork, which is just this little poster like this, and then expanded it out to fit the whole side of the machine. Now, before you jump to your keyboard and start telling us how it's not original, keep in mind this was a kit game, so there is no specific standard by which to say what is or isn't original.
Right.
Anyway.
I've seen many different versions of Street Fighter 2. I saw ones where the whole side of the cabinet was this really fancy art. I've seen ones where it's just like the logo. I've seen ones where it's that poster that they're showing, just Ryu standing, just that. So there's different variations, and it was really what the owner wanted to do. I think what it was you could optionally buy more stuff if you wanted it to be more fancy. And a lot of these arcade owners didn't do that. They just bought, hey, this is my multi-purpose cabinet. Today it'll be Street Fighter 2, but in a year I might change it. So I'm not going to go crazy decorating the cabinet. You know what I mean?
Well, that's printing. I wanted to replace the marquee light with an LED, and I noticed there was this plug, so I was like, what the heck does that go to? I couldn't see it connected to anything around back, but then I realized there was a light just out of my view laying on the bottom of the marquee. So I tested the light, and it actually worked, so I figured we'd just keep it, but it needs to be mounted properly, and I realized what they had done was just put one of these things in, so apparently the fixture originally held 2 incandescent bulbs. Now, we replaced
every marquee. So it was 2 incandescent bulbs, and they said, well, we don't want those anymore. So they just put an LED light in and modified the bulb to plug thing into the bulb, and it worked that way. That was actually pretty sweet.
Light with an LED, and I know some people would rather they stay original, but the truth is, we don't want to be replacing these bulbs constantly. That puts wear and tear on the machines, plus the heat can degrade the marquee artwork. And multiply that by 100 machines, and it really does affect our electric bill, not only in terms of power for the lights themselves, but for the air conditioning needed to counteract all the heat from those 200 marquee bulbs. Now think about it like this. If each machine had 2 40-watt bulbs inside, that's 80 watts.
I will admit this.
Now you're talking 8.
I will admit this. Modern technology, LEDs are so much better than those old bulbs. Those old bulbs, they used a ton of electricity. They ran really hot to the touch, burn your hand. They would blow out constantly. They were finicky. They break because they're glass. LED bulbs today are just so much better. You got, LEDs definitely makes a lot of sense. And they last forever, too. They last so long.
8,000 watts. That would be the same as running 5 of these 1,500 watt space heaters. So it really adds up.
So he does the marquee. There's the art. Oh, wow. Look how cool this looks. See? They got a cool new color for the molding. Oh, that's neat.
This side of the machine is now unrecognizable from how it looked
before.
Oh,
wow.
We're going to use a similar procedure for the artwork on the control panel.
That is sweet. I bet back in the day they wish they could have done it this way. Because you couldn't, it wasn't as easy to do this shit on your computer and everything back then. You had to order it all.
Oh, and we even go so far as to clean up these rusty bolts that hold on the control panel. After sanding, we'll give them a coat of primer and then a coat of paint.
Nice. They're rebuilding all the controls. Look at that.
Really only one more thing we need, and that's the coin door.
Okay, so I was getting ready to clean up the coin door, and one of the things I noticed that we didn't notice when it was in is it actually has more money.
Oh, wow. It's stuck in the slots.
Not sure why. So there was all kinds of coins in here for whatever reason, including dimes and nickels, and I don't know what the heck that is.
Another weird
and
token.
Also, a single googly eye.
Someone just shoved it in there.
So I'll just add that to our existing stash. There's some really nasty adhesive on this door, probably from an old piece of tape. I tried a number of chemicals to remove it. The one that seemed to finally do the job was alcohol. And I'll just use some Windex to get all the rest of the dirt off.
Okay. See the finished product.
before we
Look
started.
at that. Before and after.
And
Holy
here's how it
crap.
looks now.
That's awesome. Dramatically improved. I bet they can't use the Street Fighter theme song.
So I just had a few final thoughts I wanted to share with you about this project. So first of all, I want to talk about how long did it actually take? Because, watching a 20-minute video doesn't always convey exactly how long it takes something in real life. So this project, we've been working on and off for about 6 weeks, and we probably have between 40 and 50 man-hours of labor
that's a lot.
involved in it, which is actually surprisingly typical for a machine of this age. In fact, the only thing that really sets this machine apart from a lot of our other restorations is that we didn't have to do any work on the board set or the monitor or the power supply.
That's remarkable that they got an old cabinet like that and everything still worked. Wow. All right. Well, everyone, that is all we have time for this week. Since we are adjourning, I want to say thank you. Habib Gaming became a member and also a super chat there. And I appreciate that, Habib Gaming. Thank you so very much. Everyone here who hung out today with me for the show, I appreciate your company, right? That was pretty neat. I had a good time with the show. Good variety this week. Nothing there, I think, repeated, correct? Yes, there was some things, for example, there was some Warhammer. All right, I take it back. The Warhammer was kind of a repeat, but that was good original stuff and absolutely was fun to watch. Good for keep that up. Keep that variety up. If you're a member, keep that variety up. And I think that the show will continue to be, a good watch for everybody. But everyone here who relaxed with me and enjoyed this afternoon, thanks so very much. And until next time, next week. Now remember, if you enjoy this content, you can support it by becoming a member. Submission level tier members are going into the randomized playlist. I think we watched maybe 12 or 13 of those videos, so about half. And we watched all the Ultra member submissions this week, all 8 of them. So if you're an Ultra member, you're guaranteed to be watched once a week for 4 weeks. So please think about it, all right? I love the show. I can't wait for next time. Thank you all. Until then, peace out, be safe, and I'll see you next week.